Imagine waking up in a world where your own protection has disappeared. Not an army, not city walls, but the one that was always with you, the one within you. Your immunity. Gone without a trace. What will you feel? No, let's ask the question differently. What will you see? You'll see an ordinary day turn into chaos. The sunlight streaming through the window illuminates not the familiar scene, but something else entirely. You'll notice how your neighbor, sneezing on the lawn in the morning, can no longer get out of bed by midday. By evening, he'll be gone. You'll see how a minor scratch, which you wouldn't have noticed yesterday, today becomes a black inflamed streak on your skin, creeping up your arm. And there's nothing to stop it. When you step outside, you won't hear children laughing. The playgrounds are empty. You'll notice that pharmacies aren't just looted, they're emptied to the last shelf. Even mountains of antibiotics and antiseptics make absolutely no difference. The medications don't work because there's nothing to support them. The body doesn't respond. It's exposed to every bacteria, every virus, always lurking in the air but invisible. You watch the city come to a standstill. Ambulances that once howled through traffic jams are now stuck in those same jams, but their sirens are turned off. Doctors in intensive care units aren't fighting for lives, they're merely making statements. Their protective suits aren't an exaggeration. They're the only chance they have to avoid sharing the same fate with their patients at the end of their shift. You see hospitals transform from centers of hope into morgues, and then even those are no longer used for their intended purpose because there's no one to treat them. Look at your home. At the doorknob, the light switch, the screen of your phone. These aren't just everyday objects anymore. They're potential carriers of death. Every surface requires treatment with caustic chemicals. The air you breathe requires filtration. Life itself, the act of existing, becomes a constant grueling struggle against an invisible enemy, one you can't fight with. So you're sitting in your living room, you're looking at your loved ones, and you realize the only thing separating you from the chaos outside are the walls of your home. But soon even that won't be enough. What will you do at such a moment? Where will you turn? This world, deprived of an inner shield, isn't a post-apocalyptic action movie. It's a new brutal reality in which survival becomes the single most difficult science, a science yet to be mastered. So you've survived the initial shock. You realize you're alone in an invisible world, where every breath, every touch, carries a mortal threat. What do you do next? Where are you going? You look around, searching for a solution, and your gaze falls on things that previously seemed specialized, almost alien. Protective suits. Imagine getting dressed to take out the trash. That's no exaggeration. You don't just pull on a jacket. You zip up a sealed suit made of materials that repel all bodily fluids. You don a mask, not a fabric one, but one with filters capable of trapping particles invisible to the human eye. Your hands are hidden in gloves, the seams carefully taped. You check every fastener, every connection. Your life now depends not on strength or dexterity, but on the tightness of this suit. Now step inside your home. Stop at the threshold. Can you feel the draft of air coming from under the door? It no longer carries scents from the street. It carries danger. You watch as ordinary rooms transform into isolated boxes. The air you breathe doesn't come from outside. It passes through a system of filters that destroy viruses, bacteria, and spores. You hear the steady hum of these devices. This is the new sound of your life, the sound of artificial respiration in your shelter. Look at the table, the cup, the pen. You don't pick them up right away. First, you treat them with a special solution. The chemical spray gun becomes as familiar an object as a toothbrush once was. You spray everything. Products from the abandoned warehouse, packages, tools. You watch as the liquid coats surfaces with a thin film, and only this film gives you a false sense of security. You live in a constant disinfection ritual, where a missed centimeter can be a fatal mistake. And now you're inside. You're in a suit. You're in a sterile chamber that was once your home. You're breathing filtered air. What do you feel? Perhaps temporary relief, but ask yourself another question. How long can this go on? How long will these walls hold up? How long will the chemical and filter supplies last? Your survival has become an engineering challenge, the solution to which must be found again and again, every new day. And this is only the second page of the new human story. You've built walls. You've created barriers. You're breathing purified air. But it's not enough, because the threat isn't outside. It's already within, in every drop of your blood, in every cell of your body, which can no longer defend itself. What do you do when your fortress can't protect you from yourself? When your own breath becomes a danger, you need a new line of defense, not around you but within. Imagine your blood is no longer just blood. It's become a battlefield. Scientists in sterile labs, sealed off from outside air, are searching for a solution. They're trying to create artificial immunity. You see test tubes of liquid that looks like blood, but it's not. It's synthetic plasma, saturated with billions of antimicrobial peptides, tiny protein molecules programmed to attack any foreign organism. They don't possess the intelligence of your former immune system. They're a blunt instrument, a carpet bombing designed to destroy every living thing that isn't part of you. But how do you get this fluid into your veins? And how do you ensure it doesn't kill you too? Now look further. Look through a microscope, the magnification of which is measured in millions of times. You don't see bacteria or viruses. You see machines, nanorobots, tiny devices the size of a molecule floating in the same artificial solution. Their job is to patrol. Imagine these billions of machines coursing through your blood vessels, scanning every cell. They search for foreign patterns, genetic codes that don't match yours. Having found a target, they don't deliver poison. They use pinpoint effects, ultraviolet pulses, localized overheating, physical disruption of the membrane. This is surgery at the molecular level. But ask yourself, who controls this army? How can you distinguish friend from foe if all natural recognition mechanisms have disappeared? One faulty algorithm, one glitch in the program, and these same nanorobots will begin attacking your own tissues, your organs, your brain. Your body will transform from a temple into a battlefield for its own control. You've entrusted your life to a technology that was never designed for it. You've replaced the delicate symphony of biological defense with a loud and blind mechanical orchestra. You stare at a syringe filled with artificial blood or a nanorobot suspension. Are you ready to inject it into yourself? Are you ready to become a cybernetic organism in a fight for another day of life? The answer to this question will determine whether you will remain human in a world where human nature itself has become a mortal enemy. The walls of your home have become thin. The filters on your air intakes are wearing out. The world above ground is becoming more hostile with each passing day. Where will you go? Where will you find a place to hide from the atmosphere itself? The answer lies not to the side, but below, right beneath your feet. Imagine descending. An elevator, a shaft, a tunnel. They lead deeper to a place where there are no windows overlooking the contaminated world. The temperature drops. The pressure changes. You enter a space created not by nature, but solely by human engineering genius. Before you is not a cave, but a city, an underground city. The streets here are illuminated by artificial lights that mimic daylight. You see living quarters, production facilities, hydroponic farms where soilless vegetables grow under purple LEDs. The air here isn't filtered, it's manufactured. It's the product of a complex recycling system, where plants absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, while chemical scrubbers remove even the smallest impurities. It's a closed ecosystem, a giant terrarium for a single species, you. But who maintains life in this underground ark? Look at the airlock. It's not just a door, it's a complex engineering system. Groups of people in reinforced spacesuits pass through a disinfection cycle before the airlock opens to the outside. Their task is mining. They ascend to the surface, into a world that has become alien, to collect what can't be produced underground. Rare minerals for electronics, rock samples, equipment from abandoned factories. Their exit is like a spacewalk. Each such expedition is a huge risk. The return of each one is a miracle. They are the umbilical cord connecting underground humanity to its past, to the resources without which the new civilization will collapse. And now you stand on the central street of this underground world. Above you are hundreds of meters of rock, a reliable shield against biological threats. But ask yourself, what if this shield becomes a tomb? What if the life support system fails? What if one of the tunnels collapses? What if the miners' supplies run dry? You've traded the threat of invisible pathogens for the threat of isolation, shortages, and technological disaster. Are you safe? Or have you simply traded one form of vulnerability for another, even more global? Your future now depends on the smooth operation of your machines and the strength of your rock. By giving up the sun, you've bought yourself time. But what is the price of this time? You've hidden underground. You've surrounded yourself with machines. But the problem remains. It's written into the very foundation of your being, into your DNA. Your biological code contains no instructions for survival in this new world. What if this code can be rewritten? What if the key to salvation lies in the few among the millions who still live while others have fallen? Look at these people. They don't wear high-hazard suits. They don't live in sterile cubicles. They work above ground, come into contact with contaminated materials, and survive. They aren't immune. No one is. But their bodies exhibit an inexplicable, extremely low susceptibility to disease. Why? The answer is hidden in their genes. Scientists in underground labs are taking samples from these people. Not blood, that's useless. It's their DNA that is being studied. You're shown sophisticated sequencers, machines that read the genetic code letter by letter, searching for anomalies, seeking that one random mutation that could be the salvation for all. Think of a gene as a long chain. Most of the links are the same in all people, but these survivors have tiny, almost imperceptible differences in certain sections. Perhaps it's a gene responsible for the integrity of cell membranes, making them more resistant to virus penetration, or a gene that regulates mucus production in the respiratory tract, creating a more effective physical barrier. This isn't immunity, it's enhanced armor at the cellular level. Scientists are trying to isolate these fragments, these unique sequences. Their goal isn't just to find them, but to understand how to integrate them into the genomes of other people. They're working on creating a viral vector, essentially a harmless viral courier that will deliver the necessary genetic material into the body's cells and integrate it into DNA. But stop and ask yourself, what does it mean to alter your genetic code? Do you trust scientists to rewrite the very core of your biological being? Are you ready to be the first person to have a foreign gene implanted into your cells, taken from a stranger who survived hell? The consequences could be unpredictable. It might work, or it could cause cancer, autoimmune catastrophes, though that word has lost its meaning now, or mutations that will only manifest in future generations. You are standing on the threshold of more than just a medical procedure. You are standing on the threshold of creating a new species of human, genetically modified to survive in a world its ancestors destroyed. Are you willing to pay this price for the chance to see the sun again without fear? You've witnessed a scientific breakthrough. You've seen underground cities and genetic laboratories. But now look at society. A united humanity no longer exists. You see a split before you, deep and irreconcilable. What are you willing to do to survive? And where is the line beyond which survival loses all meaning? Some groups demand an immediate halt to all experiments. They see genetic engineering and nanotechnology as a new form of self-destruction. Their slogan is, "Remain human." They prefer to accept inevitable extinction, but preserve their biological and ethical purity. They gather in isolated quarters of underground cities, turn off complex life support systems, and exist on the edge, relying only on basic air filtration and canned food. Their life is a quiet, conscious withdrawal. They look at you and ask, what will you preserve by ceasing to be human? Other groups act differently. They see science as the only savior. Their motto is, the end justifies the means. They don't ask, they take. You watch as armed groups in protective gear storm research centers and medical facilities. Their goal is not to destroy, but to seize. They forcibly take equipment, DNA samples, reagent supplies, and, most valuable of all, the scientists themselves. They establish their control over artificial blood production, filtration systems, and genetic databases. For them, human life is a resource that can and must be spent to achieve their goals. They look at you and ask their question, are you with us or against us? And so you find yourself at the center of this conflict. You cannot remain on the sidelines, because neutrality is no longer an option. You must choose a side, join those who are willing to die but not change, or those who are willing to do anything to live, even at the cost of losing their humanity. This rift runs not along national borders, but along the boundaries of souls. Every day you see your neighbor moving toward one side and your former colleague toward another. Your decision will determine more than just your fate. It will determine what the future of the entire species will be, if it has a future at all. You've chosen a side. You've decided to fight for survival at any cost, but your body remains vulnerable. Genetic modification is a risky experiment, and sterile zones aren't always accessible. How can you protect yourself here and now? The answer is to transform your body into a controlled mechanism. Look at the machine next to your bed. It's not a medical device in the old sense. It's your personal health monitor. It's a polished metal and plastic monoblock with numerous tubes and sensors. One of the sensors is permanently attached to your wrist. It analyzes your blood composition in real time, tracking the slightest fluctuations that indicate the presence of foreign agents. You're not taking tests, you're living inside them. Now imagine you feel a slight tickle in your throat. Before, it would have been a minor inconvenience. Now it's an alarm. The machine detects the onset of an inflammatory response. Even though inflammation as such no longer exists, only a chemical imbalance. Instantly, without your intervention, the system prepares a response. You hear a soft click, and through a thin tube permanently implanted in a vein in your arm, the first dose of the cocktail enters your bloodstream. It's a mixture of broad-spectrum antivirals, latest generation antibiotics, and synthetic protein agents that suppress any abnormal biological activity. It's a preemptive strike against an invisible enemy. Your life is now controlled by the rhythm of this machine. You eat, sleep, and work constantly connected to it. Showering, exercising, any activity, all require a complex disconnection and reconnection procedure fraught with enormous risk. You carry a compact backpack with a backup battery and a supply of chemical reagents at all times. Your survival is measured not in days or weeks, but in liters of antiseptic cocktail and the percentage of battery life remaining. And so you sit, listening to the steady hum of the machine, and ask yourself, where does your body end and the machine begin? You no longer rely on your body's natural processes. You've entrusted your life to an algorithm that is blind and merciless. It doesn't heal you. It constantly wages chemical warfare on the outside world within your body. You've become a cyborg whose biological part is the greatest threat to itself. You've survived, but is there anything alive left in you in the old sense of the word? You're hooked up to a machine. Your blood is saturated with chemical defenses, but there's still one more entry point for the threat: your mouth. Food, what has always been the source of life, has now become its greatest danger. Every bite of ordinary food, every sip of water from a natural source, a potential biological bomb. How can we protect the most essential things? The answer is to abandon nature in favor of synthesis. Look at the plate in front of you. On it lies a piece of meat, but it was never part of a living being. You're seeing the result of a bioreactor, a device reminiscent of an industrial fermenter. Inside, in a sterile nutrient medium, pre-existing cells divide and form muscle tissue. No bacteria, no viruses, only pure protein mass grown in ideal conditions. This process requires no pastures, no slaughterhouses, and is unaffected by the seasons. This meat is an engineered product, devoid of history and risk. Now look at the side dish. These vegetables too have never seen soil or sunlight. They are grown aeroponics in vertical laboratory farms. Their roots hang in the air, and the nutrient solution is sprayed as a mist, eliminating contact with any natural pathogens. Their DNA has been edited for maximum nutrition and growth speed. They are perfect, sterile, and absolutely identical. You are not consuming a fruit, but a scientific formula embodied in a plant cell. The water you drink did not flow in rivers or reside in underground lakes. It is synthesized through a chemical reaction of hydrogen and oxygen, or purified by multi-stage distillation, completely eliminating any organic matter. It is tasteless because taste is a consequence of impurities, and impurities are a threat. You are not drinking water, but the chemical compound H2O in its purest form. But ask yourself, what happens to your body when it is fed sterile chemicals and synthetics for years? Your gastrointestinal tract, which evolved to handle complex and varied, albeit contaminated food, is now fed perfectly pure but lifeless substances. Is its function disappearing? Will it atrophy? You've saved yourself from immediate death. But what are you doing with the long-term prospects of your species? You've insulated yourself from the threat, but you've also insulated yourself from the very basis of biological existence. Your connection with nature, however cruel. Survival has become possible, but at what cost to your own biology? You've reached the limit. You've created synthetic food, built underground cities, and hooked yourself up to machines that wage constant chemical warfare inside your body. But there remains one last unresolved problem. Another person, their breath, their touch, their biological field. The most dangerous threat carrier is the one standing next to you. How to solve this problem? The answer is complete isolation. Imagine your living space has shrunk to the size of a sealed capsule. It's not a room, but a personal cocoon made of antimicrobial materials. Inside, there are only the essentials: a place to sleep, a control panel, a port for life support, and food. The capsule's walls are impenetrable. Air enters through a separate, individual filter. Not a single atom from the outside world penetrates without being thoroughly processed. You exist in an absolute biological vacuum. Now imagine you need to communicate with another person. You don't approach them. You don't approach the intercom. You activate a holographic interface. A three-dimensional, perfectly detailed image of your interlocutor appears before you. You see facial expressions, gestures, and lip movements. You hear their voice, clear of any background noise. This is communication. But it's the communication of ghosts. You don't feel the warmth of another body. You don't hear their breathing. You don't sense the tremor in their voice. You interact with a projection, with information, not with a living being. Physical contact is completely excluded. Shaking hands, hugging, touching a hand, all of these have become deadly acts, crimes against security. Even in critical situations requiring physical intervention, such as a life support machine failure, contact is carried out through robotic arms controlled remotely. Your skin should never touch anyone else's skin, ever. And so you lie in your capsule, looking at a holographic image of a person who is physically 10 meters away. And you ask yourself the final question: what remains of humanity when it has abandoned human contact? You have conquered the disease, creating a world where trust, chance, and warmth no longer exist. You have survived as a species, but what remains of your social essence? You are a collection of individuals, locked in perfect sarcophagi, communicating with shadows. This is not life as we know it. This is an existence that has become an eternal quarantine, and the point of return has already been passed.